a town hall collision course in New Hampshire. Donald Trump and Jeb Bush held dueling meetings just miles from each other. Now, this was Trump's first town hall meeting as a presidential candidate. And while town halls are known for an open forum, voters engaging in a Q&A type session with the candidate, Trump did most of the talking. And he certainly wasn't short on words when it came to his competitor, Jeb Bush.
You know what? I'll tell you what. You know what's happening to Jeb's crowd, as you know, right down the street? They're sleeping. They're sleeping now. But, you know, I saw that Jeb made a statement, and I wrote it down because I couldn't even believe it. He said, I give you the exact quote. The Iraqis want our help. We don't even know if there is an Iraq. Every time a bullet's fired, they run. They leave our Humvees, they drop the equipment. You know, the enemy has our best equipment. We have the old stuff. So he said, the Iraqis want our help. Now listen to this. This is after all we've spent. They want to know that we have skin in the game. Can you believe it? I mean, can you believe skin in the game? And I thought that was incredibly dumb. As dumb as on immigration, an act of love. It's an act of love when they come in. It's an act of love. Or a belief in Common Core. And the reason I talk about Jeb is, you know, he was supposed to do well in New Hampshire. He's, you know, going down like a rock. But how the hell does he do? How does he do well?
With me now, Major Garrett. He's in Derry, outside where Trump's town hall meeting was held. It was a lively, passionate crowd. There was a lot of feedback from Trump. And while we also looked at Jeb Bush's town hall meeting, you know, Garrett, no one was sleeping there, but it was much more restrained and much more polite.
Yeah, I wasn't at the Jeb Bush event, but I was here, about 2,500 inside the main auditorium of the Pinkerton Academy here in Derry, New Hampshire. There were 2 overflow rooms by my count, one of them that I went to after the main event Donald Trump went to. I would say there were 700, 800 people there, packed into the room, many spilling out to the back. They had a speaker set up. I mean, this was a huge crowd, and it was, by every definition known to mankind, rowdy, aggressive, impassioned, oftentimes screaming and interrupting Trump in the middle of a sentence. And he said at one time, and I think we ran at the top of the show, these are my people. Yes, Donald Trump, they are. And they are into his campaign, at least for the moment. And Donald Trump spoke for the first time. I was with him last week in Michigan about a Donald Trump movement. We talked to a couple of voters afterwards who think they are part of something like a movement. I'm not sure that it's worth calling it a movement yet, but this was a huge crowd, quite larger than any other Republicans are drawing in New Hampshire. It could be a summer spectacle, or it could be something that is the beginning of something much more profound and long-lasting. That's the part of the campaign we don't know yet.
You know, he talked about a lot of issues tonight and talked about the trade deficit, talked about jobs leaving the United States, but he doubled down again on immigration, illegal immigration, and there was a lot of support, at least vocally, for his proposal to build this big wall on the United States southern border. I want to play part of what he had to say about the prospect of this major construction project.
Well, 3,000 years ago, right, the Great Wall of China was built. We'd like to have that wall. That wall, nobody gets through. That I can tell you. And that's 13,000 miles, right? And that was done between 2000, it did take them 500 years in all fairness, it was a pretty long time. They don't stop, they don't stop. That's why we need tough people to negotiate with the Chinese, because they don't stop. You take precast plank, it comes 30 feet long, 40 feet long, 50 feet long. You see the highways where they can span 50, 60 feet, even longer than that, right? And you do a beautiful, nice precast plank with beautiful everything, just perfect. I want it to be so beautiful, because maybe someday they're going to call it the Trump Wall, maybe. So I have to make sure it's beautiful, right? I'll be very proud of that wall. If they call it the Trump Wall, it has to be beautiful.
He's getting a lot of mileage on the issue of immigration, even though voters, when they're asked, say that the economy is still the driving force behind their vote. In New Hampshire, how big a concern is illegal immigration?
Well, it was a big part of a Senate campaign here in the last election. Scott Brown, the Republican, nearly defeated Jeanne Shaheen, the Democrat, who held her seat in the Senate. And one of the big issues he raised was immigration. He talked about building a wall, border security. So there was fertile ground here in New Hampshire for an immigration message, and Donald Trump has definitely tapped into it. Voters I talked to before and after the event mentioned immigration as something that resonates with them about Donald Trump's approach to this campaign. And they do tie it to their own economic destiny. There is a sense that if immigration were under control, meaning illegal immigrants were stopped at the border, there might be more jobs in this country or higher wages. That is a theory that these voters have, and they tie the two together, their economic future, their economic destiny, and controlling the border. There's lots of analysis that pulls these issues apart and say they're not as tightly related, economic future, controlling the border, as some of these voters think, but that really doesn't matter. For them, it's tied together, and they respond to Donald Trump's, I think it's fair to say, grandiose rhetoric about a wall as big as the Great Wall of China, a Trump wall that has to be beautiful. He talked about, and we heard him just say it, 40, 50 feet high. I mean, these are kinds of concepts that no one has talked about before. There are many, many impractical aspects of it if you just look at the geography of the southern border of the United States and Mexico. But that really doesn't matter. There is something about the tempo, the aggressiveness, the largeness, if you will, of Trump himself and his rhetoric that for the moment people are responding to, at least at the event I saw in Michigan last week and the one I just witnessed here tonight in New Hampshire. The great question is, can this keep going, or does it exhaust itself over time? Does the grandiosity of these concepts run into, as sometimes they often do, the hard realities of either politics, geography, finance, or many other things that have complicated life for lots of other candidates that had a moment and saw it slip away?
Major Garrett, good to see you. You got both sort of a scolding and a pat on the back from Donald Trump tonight, depending on the venue that you were in. So definitely,
it's nothing new to me.
No, sir. I know that's true. Thank you, Major. Oh, by the way, does it look like the party has left you behind? There's nobody else left in the parking lot. The light just goes out. You know, forget it. We're done here. We're all done. Pay no attention to the man standing in the dark. Thanks, Major.